start with Rob Ford. The Toronto police say they've recovered a video of Toronto's mayor apparently smoking crack. The news sent shockwaves through the city, the country, and around the world, especially because there were never any warning signs. It's not like he was ever arrested for drug use. It's not like he was seen acting unusual lately.
You want to touch my snake?
That guy? Drugs? Totally out of the blue.
After the crack video story broke, a suspicious phone call was made to a Toronto radio station. A man calling himself Ian defended Rob Ford on air, and many people suspect it was Rob Ford himself. Take a listen.
How do you know when you're being videotaped? So you're telling me that he goes around and videotapes himself smoking crack?
Is that Rob Ford? I don't know, okay? But the guy's got a point. Because if there's one person who knows when he's being videotaped, it's...
Oh, man, I certainly do like it when it starts like that.
Oh, they say it isn't so. I mean, if only there'd been some warning signs.
Yes, some sign that Robert Ford had some issues.
Yeah, well, you know, he did deny it for a long time.
I'm Darren Howard.
I'm Robert Nisman.
You are tuned in to Radio Free Canada. Let's take a look at those Conservatives in action. Continuing things on this November the 11th, 2013 from Kelowna, British Columbia. Thanks for tuning in. Now check this out.
Left nearly speechless, Toronto Mayor Rob Ford had little to say after a new video surfaced Thursday showing him in the middle of a rambling rage, threatening to, quote, kill and murder an unknown individual.
All I can say is, again, I've made mistakes. All I can do is reassure the people that I don't know what to say.
Telling reporters he was, quote, extremely inebriated in the video and embarrassed by it, Ford tried to calm the latest round of calls for him to step down.
Again, I apologize. When you're in that state, I hope none of you have ever or will ever be in that state.
It's been a whirlwind week for the mayor, who on Tuesday admitted to smoking crack in a so-called drunken stupor about a year ago. Many council members are calling the new video disturbing.
We've been reaching out to the mayor in every way possible to urge him to take some time off, to step aside, to take a leave, to get some help. No matter how many people go to him and how many people talk to him, it is not working.
I have unfettered access to the mayor's office. He listens to me, but so far it's been, I'm staying the course.
Those calling for him to leave may face an uphill battle. There are no provisions to force the mayor from office unless he's convicted or jailed for a criminal offense. Maggie Mazzetti, The Associated Press.
So every day, it seems more and more that Rob Ford's getting himself deeper and deeper into trouble.
Remember, he denied everything, and then all of a sudden it comes out that he was in a drunken stupor, obviously, when he's ranting and raving. And of course, we do see the fact that there was supposed to be some payola going on, which is probably the reason why this video came out.
But you know what's really funny is his popularity in Toronto has increased.
Yes, sort of. If you take a look at the graph, we do have it up and down goes his popularity on a world basis, but basically Rob Ford make the entire city of Toronto look like ass.
And speaking of making us look like ass,
really,
there is another scandal going on that has not gone away as much as the Conservatives had hoped it would.
I really hope that we're catching these bagpipes. Sort of sounds like the Conservative policy now, doesn't it?
Uh-huh.
Check this out.
Those three controversial senators may be out of the Senate, but that does not mean the Senate scandal is over. The opposition leader continued to press Stephen Harper about the people in the Prime Minister's office and what's been told to the RCMP. Senior correspondent Terry Malevsky has the latest for us tonight.
There's a reason they don't call it answer period. Once again, Tom Mulcair was on the attack, asking who in the Prime Minister's office has been questioned by the RCMP. And once again, the Prime Minister chose not to answer.
The Prime Minister's office is not the target of an investigation by the RCMP. On the contrary, we know that it is Mr. Duffy and others, and of course the Prime Minister's office is assisting in any and all ways possible with those investigations.
Mulcair saw that as a dodge.
The question was different. Who's been questioned? Past, present employees of the Prime Minister's office? Who's been questioned? We know that some have been, but the fact that the Prime Minister again refuses to answer is duly noted.
In truth, the Prime Minister's office is key to the RCMP investigation. That is where the former Chief of Staff, Nigel Wright, arranged to pay for Mike Duffy's expenses. And that is why Duffy's lawyer has now given the RCMP Duffy's emails, which he says implicate the PMO. But Mulcair does not have them, so he's probing.
What documents has the RCMP requested from the Prime Minister?
I can assure the House that the Prime Minister's office has at all times and in all manner provided all and any information that the RCMP is requesting.
But Harper's not giving anything to Mulcair. Even so, sources say the RCMP now has both the PMO's copies and Mike Duffy's copies of their emails about the secret deal. Only the prosecutor knows if that's enough to lay charges, Peter.
So once again, our dear leader is working very hard at not answering the public's questions.
Yeah, that's why they call it question period.
Not answer period.
This government actually does not answer any questions. They have a policy of not explaining themselves and certainly not listening to scientific or statistical evidence on anything. So that's why we're here doing what we do. We moved, by the way.
Yeah, it was a little loud down by the where the veterans bands are warming up.
Yeah, so they're getting things ready for Remembrance Day. It's a pretty important day. It's an important day to remember what is going wrong. What do we got next?
Well, apparently the government doesn't want to tell us anything that they're doing, but they want to know everything about us.
Really?
There's a problem with Revenue Canada and our tax privacy. Check this out.
Ever wonder who sees the tax forms you fill out and send in?
We got a whole slew of complaints about people snooping in tax files.
Snooping into the private tax files of Canadians by employees of Canada Revenue Agency has become so rampant, the Privacy Commissioner was forced to investigate.
They were looking at files of ex-partners, neighbours, people that they were either curious about or had a grudge against.
Between 2011 and 2012, there were 50 instances of inappropriate access to Canadians' personal tax files, stemming from employee curiosity and personal gain to preferential treatment, even fraud.
It makes me feel really unsafe as a Canadian citizen to think that these people are just looking into my file for personal reasons.
It makes me feel very uncomfortable and a little angry at those public employees. I mean, there's supposed to be rules and regulations in place to prevent that sort of thing.
Canada Revenue Agency says it's changing its security policies and implementing stricter discipline. It's even fired some employees.
Over the years, it did add up to thousands of files, and one is too many for the kind of sacred trust that is this kind of personal information in the hands of employees.
Breach of privacy complaints made by Canadians has skyrocketed, up 230% since last year.
We've seen in other departments where over 500,000 student records were lost. We've seen thousands of data breaches. We see the government actually try and keep the Privacy Commissioner in the dark.
CRA will be investigated again in 2 years to make sure the snooping has finally stopped. Jennifer Tryon, Global News, Toronto.
So it'll be 2 years before they do a proper review of that. They got to make sure that they've had lots of time to check everything out.
Yeah.
This is kind of spooking me out, man. I mean, your tax returns aren't safe. Our taxes, our files aren't safe. Come on.
Well, I mean, why should Revenue Canada be any different from our security agencies?
Okay. Remember, accountability, transparency, and yeah, lies. Okay, finishing things off here.
Apparently there's an issue with our NSA, our CSIS, and the BC Civil Liberties Association is filing a lawsuit about it.
Okay, so check this out. You be the good judge that you are.
It's a shadowy organization, most of what it does shielded from the public eye. But the little we do know about what goes on inside CSIS, Canada's electronic spy agency, worries civil liberties groups.
Imagine living in a Canada where your government can listen to your phone call without a court warrant. It sounds unbelievable, yet this is what CSIS is doing.
And the BC Civil Liberties Association is hoping to put an end to this surveillance, launching a lawsuit claiming CSIS monitoring of Canadians is both illegal and unconstitutional. It says CSIS crosses the legal line with its powers to monitor Canadians when they communicate with someone outside the country, and its collection of metadata, who you call, what websites you visit. And all this can be done without a court warrant. All CSIS needs is the blessing of the Minister of National Defence. Defence Minister Rob Nicholson was not available for comment, a spokesperson telling Global News CSIS is prohibited from targeting Canadians, an explanation that doesn't wash with the opposition.
Modern democracy requires more than just assurances by the persons in power that they're doing the right thing.
CSIS spying abroad has landed it in hot water. Revelations it was monitoring Brazil's Ministry of Mines and Energy created an uproar in that country. Now CSIS will have to explain to the courts why it should be allowed to focus its sophisticated snooping equipment on Canadians when they place a call or send an email across the border.
So you can see the scandals are piling up right here, but they've got Rob Ford all over the major media, distracting us away from the major problems we're facing.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of coverage on the real important issues, like how they're treating our veterans, how they're treating our poor.
Yeah, you know, things like 1 in 5 Canadian children going hungry, 300,000 Canadian homeless, going into the wintertime.
And not a whole lot of coverage of the new trade deals that are going on as well.
So we want you to get informed. Check out our special on the trade deals and TPP that's coming up, and make sure that you get informed about how we can change things. Join us December 5th down at the sales as we stand our ground once again against the fascism that's building in Canada. I'm Darren Howard.
And I'm Robert Nisbet.
Stay tuned. We've got what?
Innovations.
We got major innovations coming up next, right here in the frozen cold Canadian North in Kelowna, BC.
A lot of people think poverty is a problem for other people in other neighborhoods. But even if you or no one you know is ever affected by poverty, not doing anything about poverty is costing us all. British Columbia has the highest poverty rate in Canada. Not addressing this comes at a price. And this is what it looks like when we do the math. For starters, it costs us $1.2 billion per year to pay for the healthcare costs related to poverty. We've heard a lot lately about how we need to get tough on crime. But some crime could be prevented by reducing poverty, which is linked to crimes of desperation, low literacy rates, and living in unsafe situations. The poverty-related costs of crime in BC add up to $745 million per year. Then, there's the income that the poor might have earned from working, if they had access to better supports and training. Or the income that the working poor could have earned, if their jobs paid better wages. This is also a loss to our economy, to the collective wealth of our society. And it adds up to as much as $7.3 billion per year. Altogether, it works out to between $8 and $9 billion every year. This is a terrible deal. And the worst part of this is that it would cost us between $3 and $4 billion per year to put an effective poverty reduction plan in place. That's less than half of what poverty is costing us now. You don't have to be an economist to see that it costs more to keep people in poverty than it does to fix the problem. It's just simple math. Not for other people in other neighborhoods, but for all of us.